opponents that are in the Quad 1 category, Texas and Missouri, which has been kind of the surprise of the SEC this year. And then the Quad 4 matches, those are the gotta-have-its. Can't afford to lose those. Mississippi State thought they were turning some things around there after the Ole Miss win. They won 2 in a row without dropping a set before losing 3 straight, and that's where they enter today. And tooling the block to get things started is Sasha Ratliff, one of the 7 seniors honored on Senior Day, and what a career she has had in Oxford. Mokihana Tufono, the setter, sends things away as Mississippi State has an answer of their own. Arissa Smith, the 6'2" sophomore out of Missouri City, Texas, averaging about 2 kills per set, but hitting .436. That leads this team. One to one to get things started, and a service error is sent out of bounds. So Ole Miss, like we mentioned, a team that is right there on the bubble as it stands, sitting at 5-7, coming off a really big win over Arkansas on Friday night. Shayla Meyer with the serve, and it gets Mississippi State out of system. Free ball coming here. Tufono options to the middle of the floor, and a kill for Ratliff. Her second here in this opening set, and she's off to a good start. Ratliff, 6'2" senior middle blocker from Atlanta, has established herself as one of the best middles in the SEC over the last couple of seasons. Sends one into the net there. So service errors on both sides in the opening set, 3-2. Ole Miss out in front by a point. And a reminder to everybody, we play best of 5 here in Division I volleyball. First 4 sets go to 25, got to win by 2. If there is a 5th set, play to 15, still have to win by 2. Cece Harness, the setter, tees up the right side, and there is Arissa Smith on the slide. Second kill for her in this opening set, and we are even at 3 apiece. Just historically speaking, these 2 programs always go at it on the hardwood, and expect a close match. Expect emotions to be flying high as well, as these 2 rivals have seen quite a bit of each other. Here's Nia Washington getting things going. She's a high-flying, hard-swinging pin hitter for the Rebels out of New Orleans, Louisiana. Second-year transfer from Iowa has taken monumental leaps this season, as Smith with an off-speed shot there with a tip over that Ole Miss block. And back and forth we go here to start in the opening set. Smith will send it away behind the line. Tufono tracks back to get it, and again, production out of the middle. Peyton Burgach, her first swing of the match, 5th-year senior, playing in her 122nd match for the Rebs this afternoon. Well, we have yet to have an attacking error yet in this match. Both teams hitting 1,000. Off the net swing there, Carly Schmidt able to squeeze it through that block. What a difference Carly Schmidt has been. 3 kills per set. Since this team has moved to a 5-1 system, Carly Schmidt has been getting quite a few swings on that left pin. We mentioned her 17 kills the last time these 2 squared off. Five to 5. Here's Washington pushing one to the middle. Yates was there to cover. Washington first contact here. A backside set to Burgach into the middle of the campfire for a kill. Second kill for Peyton Burgach.
Washington serving.
Nia Washington with the serve, and a good one. Free ball coming. Won't go down as an ace. See what the Rebs can do with it. Now on that right side, a tool of the block for Amina Shackelford. Some questions there for Julie Darty-Dennis and crew. Wondering if it's in or out. No challenge card yet, so looks like Mississippi State will sub a couple of players in and out, point to Ole Miss. Melee Corral Blagojevich. Mississippi State actually with that point, so the tool of the block for Shackelford, she gets a kill. But handing it right back with the service error is Blagojevich, who does lead this team with 28 aces on the year. That one sailing long. All right, so after some technical difficulties, we do have my partner Missy Whittemore back with us. Missy, it's been a pretty efficient attacking start for both sides here in this opening set. That was really the first block at the net that we saw from Sasha Ratliff, and a swing goes wide for Mississippi State and Kaylin Newsom.
Yeah, it certainly feels like two teams who know each other so well, feeling one another out here in the early goings.
Seven to 7 here as these rivals go back and forth in the opening set. Back row attack for Washington, covered well by Shackelford. Here's a middle of the floor swing, kept up in the back row. Nice kill on that left pin for Shayla Meyer. Second on the team, averaging just under a tick of 3 kills per set, Missy.
And this is an Ole Miss team that, if you've watched them over the last several years, historically the middles have dominated their attack. And we've seen a big transition this season to a much more left side dominant attack. And we know that is really where the match is won and lost. So it's good for them to have more production out there. But I think they're also looking to strike that sweet spot and find the balance between the two. And that's going to be key for them today.
It's absolutely a balance. And we were talking to third-year head coach Bree Henry about that balance. Sasha Ratliff with a kill there, but statistically speaking, you could say it's a quote-unquote down year for Sasha as that float serve goes into the net. But this team has been so reliable out of the middle of the floor. But as you have said, Missy, matches are won and lost on that left pin, and they have been trying to figure out that sort of correct balance for them this year.
And they've also made some changes in their middle blocker position just because of the fact that these are two players who have had long careers here with that graduate season, the COVID season. And so in terms of the longevity of their career, for someone like Sasha Ratliff, they didn't want her running behind off 1 foot quite so much. So they've switched her to the M2, Peyton Bergach to the M1. But those are two very different style attacks. And so while they have a lot of experience, they're actually both playing in new positions. And it's just taken them a little bit of time to find, you know, their footing offensively. And coach said, hey, they draw so much attention, and they take away the block for our outsides, and their identity this season may be more defensive than it's been in the past, and that's okay.
Emma Ammerman with a kill off high hands there, the 5th-year senior transfer from Pepperdine University, and the Ammerman name, of course, synonymous in the game of volleyball with all of her siblings that have gone on and played volleyball at great heights, the professional level. Out of system swing there, falls for a kill for Kaylin Newsom. And we also spoke to head coach Julie Darty-Dennis in her 7th season at the helm, and you know, she has really brought this program to new heights, reset the record books in 21 when this team went 16-2 in SEC play. But it has been a bit of a down year, I think, for Mississippi State this year. The schedule has not been too favorable for the Bulldogs. Had to have some really difficult road trips. (11 to 10) Ole Miss. Cece Harness with the dump over, and it will drop. Cece Harness taking over in that 5-1 system for Mississippi State, graduate setter, averaging just over 7 assists per set, but that has gone up to north of 11 assists per set since they have switched to this system. Already 7 ties here in this opening set. Nice touch there from Neil Washington. Float serve there from Ammerman, handled by Mississippi State, and Schmidt on that near side pin. A couple of kills for Carly Schmidt here in this first set. She has been a huge benefactor of this team, moving into the 5-1, averaging about 4 kills per set since this team switched in that Ole Miss match just about a month ago. 12-12, here's the slide from Burgach. Squeezes it in off the block of Carly Schmidt, and it is 13-12. Look at it here. Missy was talking about those middles, trying to use them a little bit more efficiently, and Burgach off 1 foot there. Moving into that M1 spot. Sits number 3 all time in the rally scoring era with 432 blocks. There she is on that block. Now let's see if they go back to her. They do. Tip shot covered by the libero, McKenna Yates. Here's Cammie Neeson, the libero for Ole Miss, teeing up Meyer. And that goes for a kill. Shayla Meyer coming off a 12-kill match against Arkansas on Friday night. Took 47 swings to lead the team. Just a 150 hit percentage. And harness now to the backside, and a nice cross-court kill for Amina Shackelford. It is 14-13 now. So crucial side out there for the Bulldogs. Now back to serve Koral Blagojevich. Took a season high 28 swings, had a season high 8 kills in the loss to Alabama. That's a nice touch, tight to the net for the setter Tifono to get Ole Miss first to 15. Well, as expected, these two schools, rivalries, adding another chapter into that storied history book, and back and forth it has been in the first set. Ole Miss first to 15 here in the opener. Both teams hitting at a really high clip. Ole Miss swinging 722. Mississippi State also hitting over 500 right now. There are 0 attacking errors on either side. 10 kills for State, 13 for the Rebs.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can remember a set 1 at 15-13 where neither team has an attack error this deep into set 1. Very impressive.
Both teams clicking on all cylinders right now. And a whistle there, and out of rotation it looks like. Ole Miss out of the timeout. Interesting. So that will give Mississippi State the serve. And McKenna Yates will send it away. Tifono, a back row attack dug out by Blagojevich. Now to the near side, Newsom. Her swing dug up by Neeson. There's Neeson on the cover, and it's touchdown by Sasha Ratliff out of the middle. She's had a couple of balls that have been up at the net that she has just had to touch down. Fourth kill for Sasha Ratliff here in this opening set, and Ratliff this season averaging just about a kill and a half per set, so well over that mark. Wow, Amina Shackelford jumping off a trampoline there on the right side. So lethal. The second-year transfer from Butler. Has been one of the best blockers on the team, but she can also get it done on the offensive side as well. 3 kills for Shackelford here. She was a thorn in the side of the Rebs the last time these two played. Shackelford had 13 kills in that match. Right side swing here for Meyer. Shayla Meyer with a side out, 17-15 Ole Miss. hasn't really been one player for either side. 9 different players with multiple kills here in the first set as Meyer sends it away. Joust at the net, and it's touchdown. I believe Washington was the first to it. Mia Washington with her 4th kill. So Ole Miss with 3 players of 4 kills in this first set. And Ole Miss with 18 points here. In the meantime, here's a look at this week's featured SEC Network volleyball matchup. Sophomore All-American Kennedy Martin leading number 21 Florida against Auburn on senior night at Neville Arena. Gators have won 12 of the last 13 matchups between the two dating back to 2016. Coverage begins 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Florida Gators just keep on rolling as you look at the SEC Players of the Week. And yep, quite a few Florida players in there as the Gators picked up a huge win over Missouri on Friday night, a 5-setter in Columbia. Gators pick up their 8th straight win in conference play. Arkansas as well, a good week, although they were just taken down by this Ole Miss team on Friday night in a competitive match there. Courtney Jackson leading the way defensively, 24 digs in the win over South Carolina. All right, so a tight one here on senior day against Mississippi State for Ole Miss. Why would you expect anything different? Series that dates back to 1976, and Ole Miss has had the upper hand quite comfortably, 63-27 in those meetings. Mississippi State, though, won the previous meeting, like we said earlier this season. It was Ole Miss that won the first set, 28-26. There was a crucial challenge call in that first set as well back in the first meeting that Bree Henry took out, ended up winning the first, but then it was all Mississippi State over the next 3 sets. Bit of a stronger opening for the Rebels here in this one. Harness pushes one to Newsom, and Newsom finds that block of Ole Miss for the kill, brings the Bulldogs within 2. Kaylin Newsom back to serve. Had just 3 kills on 10 attempts in the last match. Those were both season lows for her. There she is on the dig, pushed over by Harness. Now to Fono, finding Ammerman wide open there. Pushing that one to the floor is Emma Ammerman. Brought with her a ton of experience from Pepperdine. Over 100 matches played at Division I level, 4 years of NCAA tournament experience as well with the Waves. 19-16. Tufono sharing the ball around. That one a bit off the net for Washington. Harness pushes one. Schmidt is blocked. Burgach and Ammerman in on it. First block for either team here in this match. Emma Ammerman with her 35th block of the season. Also honored here, one of the 7 seniors for the Rebs. Smart shot there off the block for Arissa Smith, the middle blocker. Impressive improvement year over year for Arissa Smith. Coach said that she asked the right questions after her freshman season was done last year. Didn't really see the floor a ton, but this year has been uber impressive and has been a big help for this team, both offensively and defensively. And Schmidt is blocked again. This time Burgach. We mentioned she sits 3rd all-time in the rally scoring era, now 433 blocks. Just a couple away from jumping into the number 2 spot. Sasha Ratliff, number 1 in the rally scoring era. So, as we mentioned, these 2 middle blockers for Ole Miss will go down in the record books for quite a while. That is Rebecca Walk, number 7 graduate player, coming off a season-high 13 kills on 29 swings against Alabama in the 5-set loss on Friday night. 3rd-year transfer from South Alabama. Good hustle from Tufono to keep that play alive. Free ball coming here to the right side. This time Shackelford slowed down by the block and a back row attack touched over. Schmidt on the left pin, finding that block. This time it goes out. So a heads-up play by Schmidt after she was rejected the last couple of swings. A smart shot to tool the block this time. It's 21-19. Again, we played a 25 here. Got to win by 2. And a point to the Bulldogs. Won't go down as an ace. There was a second contact on it on the other side, but it forces a timeout by the Rebels. Bree Henry wanted to talk things over after a little bit of a run here, and it's been a good season for Ole Miss. 6-3 at home this year. A couple of really big road wins as well. 5-0 in neutral site games. First 15-win season since they made the NCAA tournament back in 2021. It's been an impressive turnaround. This team won 11 matches each of the last 2 years. Today, third of 4 consecutive home matches. We mentioned they're coming off that 4-set win over the Arkansas Razorbacks. And then on the other side for Mississippi State, you could say it's been a down year, but they have played some really difficult opponents. And it started in the non-conference against Michigan and Notre Dame. They're looking to snap a 3-match losing streak. And they've played some close 5-set matches. They are 0-3 in 5-set matches this season. And they dropped their third against the Tide on Friday night in that 5th set. Dropped a close first set, fought back in the sets 2 and 3 before losing the 4th and 5th sets to Alabama. But here they are fighting back in the first set, bringing it within 1. It is an excellent crowd here at the Gillum Center, as expected here on Senior Day. One of the seniors honored for Ole Miss, Julia Dice, the lone Mississippian on this Ole Miss roster from Brandon, Mississippi. Julia said that she used to come to watch a lot of matches here growing up. Used to hang posters on her wall of the Ole Miss Rebels players. Coach Bree Henry said recently they had the alumni match, and Julia was asking if all these players were coming back that she grew up watching. And here she is playing on Senior Day in the back row for the Rebs. Schmidt trying the line shot there, and I believe it hit the antenna. Went out of bounds on that swing for Schmidt. Ole Miss doing a much better job at containing Schmidt here in this first set. We mentioned that Schmidt went off against this Ole Miss team in the first meeting. Now being held in check here. That's walk in the middle, though. Nice quick up-tempo set to Rebecca Walk from Cece Harness. In system, in rhythm. Walk becoming the 6th Mississippi State player with multiple kills here in the first. Joust at the net, fought over, contact on Mississippi State's side. And a touch shot falls for Kaylin Newsome. So Newsome with 4 kills here in this first set, already more than she had in the entire match against Alabama on Friday. So that is a good sign for the Bulldogs. Tough serve from Blagojevich. Out of system for Ole Miss. Harness to the middle, Walk with another kill. Rebecca Walk hitting over 500 here in this first set. Here it is again, solo block from Burgach, and she cuts the angle tight. Mississippi State takes the lead, 23-22. Well, the 4th annual CM Newton Classic is Wednesday right here on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. Senior guard Mark Sears leads number 2 Alabama against Illinois. Not so sure they will have that number 2 next to him once the new AP poll comes out. Alabama losing to Purdue earlier in the week. Coverage begins 9 Eastern, 8 Central after Florida-Auburn women's volleyball. Oh, sometimes the record can be a little bit deceiving. 12, almost 13 assists per set, good for third in the conference. They are up there in kills, digs, and blocks as well in the top 5 of the SEC ranks. And when we were talking to Coach Julie Darty-Dennis, one of her messages to her players this year has been finishing, trying to finish matches and finish rallies. This has been a team that is a high kill team, but they also can struggle at times with the hitting errors. That has been a problem for this team this year, and it's one of the reasons they have struggled at times in SEC play. Only 3 errors today, so a good sign and a good start for the Bulldogs here in this first set. And again, just a reminder to everybody listening, we have Missy Whittemore here as my partner. We're dealing with some technical issues here. We will try to get Missy back as soon as we can. But right now, it is the Bulldogs that have taken the lead. Blagojevich has gotten Ole Miss out of system as the Rebs look for a side out. Handled well by Yates there in the back row. Meyer first contact goes right back to her, and it's blocked back. Rebecca Walk in on it with Shackelford as Mississippi to set point. First Mississippi State block here in the first set. And Blagojevich trying to finish it off. And that swing goes wide. Meyer was looking for high hands. Mississippi State is going to take the first set here on the road, 25-22. Just when it looked like it was all Ole Miss, Bulldogs come back and win the first.
"64 teams. Anything can happen."
The parity across the country has been unbelievable.
Can you imagine what this tournament's going to be like?
Hard to imagine. We are just 2 weeks out from Selection Sunday. 6 Eastern time on ESPN is when the 64 teams will be revealed. Here was the lone NCAA committee top 16 reveal of the season. Came back on October 20th. Obviously, a lot has changed. Pitt has continued their reign over the ACC. Noticeably, Texas has gone on quite a run after dropping a couple of matches to start the season. Also, we mentioned Florida winning 8 straight as it pertains to the SEC. Keep an eye on Kentucky as well, a team that has won 7 straight since the sweep that they suffered to the aforementioned Texas. SMU has been a bit of a surprise team. The other team also that maybe a chance from the outside looking in is Missouri in the SEC, that Coach Dawn Sullivan over there in Columbia has surprised quite a few folks so far this season. Amina Shackelford gets things started for the Bulldogs, who ended the first set on a 6-1 run. Forced a couple of timeouts. Ole Miss just could not finish off the first. We'll see if that comes back to hurt them later on in this match. But Mississippi State taking the first set, 25-22. Just getting underway here in the second set. Senior day inside the Gillum Center between these two rivals, Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Newsom on the far side, got a touch at the net, and a 2-0 start for the Bulldogs. See what Bree Henry talked about in that huddle after that first set. Disappointing for her team to let that one slip away. Sasha Ratliff pushing one down there off the block. Ratliff, her first block of the match, and give her a kill on it. Shackelford swinging high, and the point to the Rebels. So after a 2-0 start by Mississippi State, Ole Miss answers. And you're trying to figure out what went wrong for Ole Miss there. They really got stuck in a rotation with Blagojevich for Mississippi State, serving tough. And a smart play there by number 10 in the back row to let that one float away. But a 6-1 run for Mississippi State. And Blagojevich got there in a run on that service line. And Ole Miss just did not have an answer. Ole Miss going to challenge here. So the first challenge card brought out by Bree Henry. Coaches get 2 challenges per match.
The play would be reversed. The ball is in. Point Ole Miss. Ole Miss retains their challenge.
All right, there you go. So Ole Miss and Bree Henry using that challenge because the call was overturned. They retained that challenge, like we said, each team with 2 challenges per match. Ole Miss retaining the challenge. If we go to a 5th set, each team receives an extra challenge, although you don't receive more than 2. That's tight on that back line there. But the serve from Meyer did just catch a piece. And Ole Miss with 2 challenges. So an ace going in the books for Meyer. And Shackelford missing. Shoots it wide there. Shackelford, the dangerous right side hitter. This has been a bit more of a mistake-prone start to the second set versus the 3 errors that were committed in the first. Mississippi State already with 3 errors in the second. That's Mary Neal. Coming in the back row, serves it away. Meyer, first contact to Fono. Washington gets it through the block. Good cover, though, by Neal. Tufono hits the deck, second contact, Neeson. Here's Washington trying a line shot, but does get a tip at the net. And Washington picking up what is her 5th kill of the match on 13 swings. So far, no errors for the junior outside hitter from New Orleans, and we will have a challenge on the other side. Julie Darty-Dennis will bring out the challenge card for the first time, and Mississippi State will try their luck here, and let's see what they will be challenging.
All right.
Was initially ruled a touch at the net.
Original decision is no net. And Mississippi State is challenging that call.
All right, here's a look at our Hawkeye replay, the SEC video review. Was there a net violation here? Yeah, these are always so tough to decide because the net is sometimes moved because the ball hits it. And it's hard to see if the net is moving there. And you see Shaylee Meyer pointing at that block for Mississippi State, saying that Washington got a touch off the block. But Mississippi State utilizing their first challenge here in this match. Coach Julie Darty-Dennis believing there's enough evidence to overturn the call.
The original call stands. It was hair that was in the net. Mississippi State retains the point. Mississippi State loses a point and loses a challenge.
All right, there you go. So there's the explanation, hair in the net. So Mississippi State does lose one of their 2 challenges. Point stays with Ole Miss. Coach Darty Dennis getting the explanation. And ever since this second set started 2-0 Mississippi State, Ole Miss on a 5-1 run. And that's going to be disappointing there to give a point back on a service error. Already the 5th service error for Bree Henry's squad. Nice shot from the middle. Good quick set from Tufono to Burgach. Well, Burgach, we mentioned her blocking ability, but when she can get it going offensively, it becomes a whole new dynamic for this Ole Miss team. Short serve from Ammerman. Neeson's second contact tees up Washington. And Nia Washington squeezes it through the block. 6 kills for the second-year transfer. She's got 5 20-kill matches this year. All of them have come against SEC opponents. Another float serve. This one goes into the net from Ammerman. That is now 6 service errors for the Rebels here as they continue to kind of keep Mississippi State in this one. Immediately out of system for Washington as she tries to go tight. Angle there. Push to the outside. Schmidt has it blocked. Who else? Peyton Burgach in on it. We do have Missy Whittemore back. And Missy, it's the Ole Miss service errors that are keeping Mississippi State in this second set, but hitting at a high percentage, and they're also getting it done defensively.
Yeah, defense has been such a key for them, particularly that first line of defense at the net. So much experience between these two middles.
Here goes Schmidt off high hands. Tufono to the backside. Burgach trying on one foot. Did get a touch. Ole Miss point. It is 9-5.
And as I had mentioned earlier to you, Sam, while she has so much experience in the middle, she had typically attacked in front of the setter, and she just really enjoyed that gap set between the outside and the middle. That's where it was kind of her bread and butter shot. So running behind is a bit of a new look for her.
All right, so this is really interesting. Mississippi State already down a challenge, going to put their second on the line.
Original decision is touch. They're challenging no touch. Mississippi State is challenging no touch.
So Julie Darty Dennis, who was unsuccessful in her first challenge a couple of points ago, already bringing out the green card again. They are challenging that there was no touch. The question is there enough evidence to overturn this call? It was ruled a touch at the net. You need clear and conclusive evidence to overturn as we get another look at our Hawkeye replay video review.
Sam, to your point of pulling out that challenge card so quickly yet again, I think it speaks to the importance of an early start here for Mississippi State to be able to take a set and to then try to go up 2-0 would just be huge on the road where Mississippi State has struggled to defeat their rival.
You see Carly Schmidt, her hands up high at the net.
The play is reversed. There is no touch. Mississippi State retains gets the point and retains the challenge.
All right, so that's the official call. And again, risky, like you said, Missy, because if you lose that one, you don't have any more, at least until a fifth set is played, when you would get one back. But Julie Darty Dennis confident in her players that there was no touch and able to get the call reversed. So a swing of 2 points now, brings it within 2. It is 8-6, and Mississippi State will have the serve.
And 6-8 sure does look a lot better than 5-9, I think, when you look up at that scoreboard.
And it looks like we have, yeah, we're going to have to get that taped up by our athletic training staff there. CeCe Harness getting checked out. Well, I mean, this is kind of a illustration of the toughness, I guess you could say, of CeCe Harness. When we talked to Julie Darty-Dennis about, you know, making the move to that 5-1, she said that CeCe just has been able to get this team playing in a more up-tempo and consistent rhythm on offense, but it's also what she does on defense. 15 assists already today, but I don't know, Missy, since they made that switch, things have been clicking for Mississippi State.
It really has. I think they just found a consistency. We talked earlier about what a hot streak Carly Schmidt has been on. And in that 5-1 system that they switched to from the 6-2, where they just use the same setter in all 6 rotations, there's been a consistency, and particularly that go ball to the outside pin, which is a very fast set to the outside. And for the attackers to receive that fast set from the same setter over and over has really helped them to find a rhythm.
Swing from Meyer. Goes wide. Do you think the, I mean, you were obviously a setter, Miss. Like, does the tape affect her rhythm trying to get those balls out to the outside, to the middle?
Yeah, that's a great question. We'll have to keep an eye on that, I think, and see just if there's any restriction there in her release or not.
Whistle at the net. And a net violation, point to Mississippi State. So they win the challenge, they win the next 2 points, and they tie it up 8-8 here. So what a swing of momentum. Like we said, they ended the first set on a 6-1 run. This is a game of momentum shifts. And right now, the Bulldogs have it in their favor, but it is Peyton Burgach with a side out.
Another look at Burgach behind the setter, and it's such a good choice because you saw Tufono on the run, pulled into left front, and yet she goes against the flow there and forces that Mississippi State blocker to have to chase.
4 kills, 3 blocks, an excellent start from the veteran middle blocker, but again, another ball into the net from behind the line. That is 7 in this match.
And if you look back to Friday night, Ole Miss's matchup against Arkansas, they had 7 service errors in that first set, and they dropped that first set to Arkansas, and you have to point directly to the service line.
Now Blagojevich out of system for Tufono, just having to push over a free ball. Harness to the outside, dug up by Neeson, but an overpass is handled by Rebecca Walk. Out of the middle of the floor, Rebecca Walk has come on really strong over the last couple of matches.
And after not playing much front row on Friday night, Kaylee Newsome back in that role of just managing her swings. She doesn't go for a kill there, but her swing is what creates that overpass, and Rebecca Walk capitalizes on it.
There's Sasha Ratliff, tool in the block.
And boy, that is really what we're used to seeing. If you've watched much Ole Miss volleyball over the past 4 years, a heavy dose of Sasha Ratliff off 1 foot behind the setter. And she has that opportunity in those rotations where the setter's in the front row. Now Ammerman to the front row, and we probably won't see her behind as much.
There's Ammerman on the block. Ratliff was in there too.
Such a good blocking duo. There is just not a rotation off for these Mississippi State attackers. You know, you don't look up and say, okay, that middle blocker has rotated to the back row, I'll get some easier swings. In all 6 rotations, just elite middle blocking.
That one into the net, but Ole Miss is winning that battle in the front line. 5 blocks for the Rebs here in this match so far. Mississippi State with just 1. Tufono with options, and Meyer taking a shot down the line, and Meyer with 5 kills now.
And Meyer really showing off her range here, her ability to use all the shots. And that's something that Ole Miss has prided themselves on this season, being trained to use the entire court and to use a large range of shots over the course of the match. They don't want to pigeonhole themselves.
Out of rotation. That's the second time we've seen Ole Miss out of rotation in this match.
Yeah, very interesting to see that multiple times. You rarely see that once in a match, but just has to do with the way they're lined up prior to the ball being contacted.
Well, sometimes all you need is a Nia Washington swing from the back row to get you out of a funk. She can do that with the best of them.
It is such a luxury for Ole Miss to have her out of the backcourt. It is not just what I would call an extra attacker in each rotation. It's a legitimate attacker in each rotation, a large part of their offense. 7
kills on 17 swings already for Washington. On the other side, it's Arissa Smith this time out of the middle of the floor. And we were talking to Coach Darty Dennis about the improvement year over year for Arissa Smith. From freshman year to sophomore year, Coach Darty Dennis telling us after she didn't see a ton of the floor her first year, she asked all the right questions, got better in the offseason, and has been an integral part to this team. There's a tool of a block there for Ammerman, and Ole Miss first to 15 here. All right, welcome back, everybody. Back inside the Gillum Center here on the campus of Ole Miss. Senior day as well for Hottie Toddy Nation. 7 seniors honored. And right now, Ole Miss in front in the second set, 15-13. They have made some mistakes that have allowed Mississippi State to stay in this second set. Similarly, going back to the first when the Bulldogs ended the first set on a 6-1 run. Here it's been the service errors as well as a couple of out-of-rotation calls that have given some points away. But there is Washington and giving it a 3-point lead.
And that's great news for Ole Miss to see their pins up with a solid block, because I know Mississippi State knew what they were dealing with in the middle, but thought perhaps the pins for Ole Miss would be a blocking liability. And so to see Washington holding her own, and again there, holding her own on that slide.
Nice dig in the back row for the Bulldogs. A roll shot into the block of the Revs. Now a harder swing for Newsom, but it's also slowed down. This time Washington pushes to the middle. Blagojevich is there. Newsom has it stuffed right back. Good hustle from Mississippi State. Ultimately results in a kill for Ole Miss.
That block at the net for Ole Miss. Again, just the way Bergach and Ratliff patrol from left to right. They do such a good job with their side-to-side speed.
All right, so a 4-point lead prompts a timeout for Mississippi State. Hey, Tuesday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the SEC Network, we will have the True South season finale. It's the annual behind-the-scenes show, a rolling cocktail party, and a dinner. How about that? You got oysters on the half shell, cheese as well from Elsie's Daughter restaurant in Chattanooga, Tennessee. What a way to wrap up the year for True South. Well, last time out for the Rebels, it was a really good match for this team, Missy. They took down an improving and maybe a bit of a surprising Razorbacks team this year in 4 sets. It was their first win over Arkansas since 2019. The Rebs were nowhere to be found in that first set. They went down 25-16, then they won the next 3 in fairly convincing fashion. And it's interesting, too, because they were swept by the Razorbacks earlier in the year. So that was an impressive comeback to make a statement there at home.
Yeah, I think the fact that Ole Miss got a second chance at Arkansas, a team who they had lost to, and is now getting a second chance at Mississippi State, a team who they also lost to earlier this season, really plays well for them in terms of the scheduling, because the committee at the end of the season, one of the things they're going to look at is your most recent 10 matches. What are you doing right now going into the tournament? And so there's some huge opportunity for Ole Miss to make a statement here late in the season.
That's a great point. And sometimes it's not only about who you play, it's how you play and when you play. And to your point, this is a gotta-have-it match for Ole Miss if they want to stay in that hunt for the NCAA tournament. And right now, building a 5-point lead in the second after dropping the first set, a good sign despite some of the mistakes. It is their largest lead here of the match. Smith couldn't get much behind it. To the right side, Ammerman on a solo block finding the seam.
I think something both of these teams had in common coming into today was the fact that they've needed more right side production. And Ammerman really starting to show signs of catching fire here for Ole Miss. If they can get her going as a third pin, this team becomes really deep all of a sudden.
4 kills on 7 swings for the Pepperdine transfer. That's a nice line shot there on the far side. And a side out for Mississippi State.
Newsom just does a nice job there of being really patient because she's had a hard time around this big Ole Miss block. They've blocked her a couple times, and what she has to do is just stay in those long rallies. She doesn't want to error state out of those rallies, but be patient, and there she finds an open spot down the line.
Washington off the net, able to contort her body in midair and get a really good swing on it. Well, Cammie Neeson just reaching a milestone, moving into 4th place all-time at Ole Miss in career digs with over 1,280 on the year. One of the big reasons why Ole Miss has been at or near the top of the SEC in digs per set over the last several years, ranking 4th coming into this match.
And she certainly helped her cause on Friday night when she had that record-setting 39 digs against Arkansas. That number just blows my mind.
3rd-year starter at the libero spot for the Rebs. Good chance coming here for Ole Miss. Burgach couldn't get much on it. A joust at the net, falls on the Rebels' side. Washington terminates.
Really nice use of tempo in transition. And this is what you see from Ole Miss. Lightning fast offense. No chance that middle blocker from Mississippi State is going to be able to get out there in transition to close that. And the tempo for Ole Miss can be good or bad. We saw in the first meeting between these two teams, the tempo really worked against them. As Coach Bree Henry told us, our timing to the outside was off the entire match. But when that timing is on, boy, is it hard to catch up with that set. And you're seeing that from Carly Schmidt as well there from Mississippi State, how fast that go attack is and the consistency that she now has with Cece Harns on that ball.
That was Schmidt's 4th kill here in this match. Ole Miss has done a much better job at containing her. Gifono tight to the net. Here's Schmidt again, tooling the block. So back-to-back kills for Schmidt. And Carly had a slow start in the first, now trying to heat up here in the second. Read well there by the Bulldogs. Now Schmidt again. And what does she do? Just off high hands. 3 straight kills for Carly Schmidt, and it will force a timeout for Bree Henry and Ole Miss. And Missy, it's like we're watching the same movie again as the Bulldogs making a comeback here late.
Yeah, look at this, a triple block, respecting that swing from Carly Schmidt, and she still finds a way to go off hands. And that's because they're trying to attack over the smaller right side blocker, doing everything they can to keep away from those big middles. And that's just a really disciplined swing from Carly Schmidt.
And how about what she has done since they made that move to the 5-1 system in this Ole Miss match? Averaging 3 kills per set, super respectable. But since the switch, 4 kills per set over the last month, 7 straight double-digit kill matches, and now with 6 kills in this match, Missy.
And for teams like State and Ole Miss, who really tempo is such a big piece of their game, that consistency in the timing to the pin becomes even more important. And so I think choosing to go with one setter was really in the best interest of Mississippi State. It doesn't necessarily speak to the ability of either setter, but it's created a rhythm to the outside that has allowed a player like Carly Schmidt to really just, you know, raise her game to the next level. For her to have now 7 consecutive double-digit kill matches, it's a big big piece of why this Mississippi State team has been able to kind of turn the corner here in the middle of conference play.
All right, so like I said, Mississippi State able to mount a comeback in that first set, ending on a 6-1 run. It's kind of the similar spot in the second set, Missy. How does Ole Miss change the script and close this one out and pick up their first set of the match?
Well, I think, you know, this is an Ole Miss team that really player for player is much more physical than the Mississippi State team. And so I think they just have to play with ball control and not necessarily swing hard in those non-green light situations like Coach told us, but when they have the green light, go ahead and take the big rip.
Get that block going again as well, which was a big part in the first set of keeping it close. Burgach with another block. Peyton's got 5 here in this match already.
And I think that's a great example as to why Ole Miss doesn't want to offensively err out of a point, because they can really lean into that block in the front row to score points.
6 blocks in this set alone for the Rebs. Way outside for Schmidt, coming in at an angle there off the block of the Rebels. And this time the block is returned. Rebecca Walk and Carly Schmidt in on the action.
And because Carly Schmidt is only a 3-rotation player just across the front row, this is really what they're asking for her. You know, she's not asked to serve, she's not asked to pass balls, but how can she add to her game? She can add back to her game by defending at the net, and that's something that we're starting to see her do here.
So does Mississippi State have some more magic in them? It's Shayla Meyer on the near side pin with the kill.
Really smart swings again by Shayla Meyer. These are not balls that are necessarily to the floor, but we see her working the block, working the corners, swinging deep into the court. Those are the balls that can really drive you crazy as a defense.
Meyer, really talented young player for the Rebels that is going to have a bright future here in Oxford in years to come. Set point for Ole Miss as Rebecca Walk's swing goes wide. See if Ole Miss can even things up here on senior day inside the Gillum Center. Harness to the middle, Walk slowed down by the block. Tufono options, middle of the floor. Nice hustle from Harness, but can't keep it up long enough. And on senior day, Ole Miss evens up the match 1 set apiece. We go to the third next here on the SEC Network. Well, welcome back. It is a checkerboard start between these two rivals. Mississippi State taking the first, Ole Miss taking the second, 25-19, alongside Missy Whittemore. I am Sam Ravitch. Great to have you with us. It is a bit of a revenge tour for third-year head coach Bree Henry and this squad, going back to the first meeting and the second meeting. But to your point, as far as what the NCAA committee wants to see, Missy, this is kind of it illustrated in a graphic.
It absolutely is. You know, you only have an opportunity this year in the SEC to play an opponent twice, 2 times. And for Ole Miss, those opponents are Arkansas and Mississippi State. They happen to both be opponents they lost to the first time around. And I think opponents that they feel like are in their wheelhouse, opponents that they can certainly get a win against. And so to have this opportunity late in the season, not only does it feel good in terms of that revenge tour, but it means a lot also, I think, in terms of what the committee is looking at for the NCAA selection.
Well, quite a few errors for Mississippi State there in the second that ultimately led to their demise. 8 attacking errors and just 9 kills as the teams will switch sides, and Sasha Ratliff into the dig of Blagojevich. Miss hit there for Kaylin Newsom leads to a Ole Miss point. This is the first time in the 3 sets that Ole Miss has struck first, by the way. Mississippi State took the first points in the first and second sets. Mokihana Tufono, the UCLA transfer, has taken over as the setter immediately. A big reason why this Ole Miss offense has gotten clicking.
Now Smith with a kill, and I think it's interesting as you take a look at the numbers after 2 sets as we're split 1 apiece, that there's no one in double-digit kills yet. And I think actually both of these coaches would see that as a positive, because what we're seeing is nice offensive balance on both sides of the net.
Tufono, first contact there. Off the net, kept up by the Rebs. Opportunity coming here. Neeson covers. Back row attack. Washington dug out by Yates. Now Blagojevich into the dig of Tufono. What a rally this is. Meyer tight to the net. Touchback effort from Tufono, but it falls at a point for Mississippi State in a hard-fought battle there.
And Blagojevich out of the back row from the Dogs. They don't have a back row attack presence. They use defensive subs. And so I think that's an important piece for them in those long rallies to have another option.
Yeah, we spoke to both coaches, and kind of the message was that both sides were actually still tinkering with their lineups. Bree Henry, of course, trying to move in Emma Ammerman on that right side a little bit more. And then the 5-1 switch for Mississippi State as they try to find an extra hitter on that pin. So both sides late in the season still figuring out that right system for them.
Yeah, Sam, I think, as you know, across all sports, film and video, such a huge piece of what these coaches and players do now, that over the month of November, people are watching so much tape on you. You have to be evolving. You have to be getting better. You can't just continue to go out and look the same night in and night out. So there's new wrinkles being added throughout the entire season.
It's a great point, and Ammerman will get credit for that kill. But I would like to give a little bit of a half a kill there to Nia Washington, who kept that ball up in the back row and kept the point alive for the Rebs.
She's just a great all-around player for Ole Miss. I mean, you look at her, you think she's undersized, and boy, I mean, the ups she has, she's, just a firecracker across the front row. But in the back row, I think sometimes you overlook her athleticism and how well she plays across the backcourt as well.
Now Carly Schmidt will rotate in. Blagojevich will head to the bench. And it looks like we're going to have a challenge here.
Original decision, block touch, point, Mississippi State. Ole Miss is challenging no touch.
All right, so Bree Henry brings out that green challenge card for the second time. Successful in the first challenge, so they have two. Touch, no touch. That's what we're looking at here. I mean, it is right between Ammerman and Ratliff.
Yeah, you see Ratliff, or excuse me, Ammerman there reaching to her right. Trying to take away some line shot, and it certainly leaves a big seam that Mississippi State goes right at, as she rightfully should. But they may have left so much seam that they didn't even touch the ball, which is usually not a good thing, but it could work to their advantage.
No, I was going to say, as much as the Hawkeye video review is catching this, I'm sure Bree Henry's looking at it and saying, we got to close that seam.
That's exactly right.
The play is confirmed. The ball is touched. Point, Mississippi State. Ole Miss loses their challenge.
All right, so both teams with one challenge remaining now after Bree Henry loses their first challenge. Mississippi State will keep the point and the serve. It is 4-2 here in the third. Just a reminder to everybody, we play 5 sets, best of 5. First 4 sets, we play to 25 points. Got to win by 2. If we go to a 5th set, play to 15, still have to win by 2. Here's Tufono, quick set to Ratliff, but it was slowed down off the top of the tape. Schmidt on the attack now, kept up in the back row by Meyer. Here's Washington elevating, and Newsom couldn't keep it up in the back row. Side out for the Rebs.
In Washington, again, you see the speed of the ball to the outside. Mississippi State doing a pretty good job of reading that and really going ahead and sort of releasing early, knowing that the high probability of the ball to the left side there.
We were just mentioning how no player had gotten to double-digit kills yet. Well, that has changed. Nia Washington, the first to 10. She's got 25 double-digit kill matches in her illustrious career. Now with Schmidt into that block there, set up by Ammerman and Burgach. Washington dug out by Yates. Schmidt now on the near side, cuts it a bit tight, and the point to Ole Miss as they jump in front 5-4.
And that Ole Miss block just has the ability to make attackers uncomfortable. They take up so much space, so disciplined, and you see Carly Schmidt just trying to change her shot, trying to find a way around that block.
Wow, that was straight to the floor by Arissa Smith.
And to run the middle and serve receive, you've got to have a good pass. And that's exactly what they get there that time from Newsome out of the back row, right on top of the setter. And all of a sudden, the side-out game looks so much easier when you can set that middle and serve receive.
No question. 7 kills for Arissa Smith now, but the answer from Ammerman, and Emma Ammerman with 6 kills on the match. And Missy, she didn't play a huge role the last time these two squared off.
That's a really good point. They have used a combination of Ammerman and Julia Dice on the right side at different times during the year, just looking for some production. And Ammerman playing across the front row here today where Dice did in the first meeting, and Ammerman having a really good outing with 6 kills on 11 swings, but most impressively, not an error yet today.
No, and she also adds a level of the block as well, with 3 blocks in this match so far. Ammerman standing at 6'3", brings the size on that right side. Washington off the block, and a little bit of an extra stare across the net that time from Nia Washington as the emotions fly high in this rivalry.
And that was a really nice pass from Julia Dice, who we mentioned moments ago. She's still playing across the back row as she and Ammerman are splitting that position. And I think it was a great example from Nia Washington of playing with that Mississippi State block a little, because as Coach told us, this Mississippi State team is very good defensively, and we don't want to give their backcourt an opportunity to create rhythm for their offense. So if they can tool the block, play balls off the block, and not allow Mississippi State's defense to turn into offense, that becomes a real positive for Ole Miss.
Rare mistake there behind the service line so far for Nia Washington, but that is 9 service errors on the match for the Rebels. It is the first here in this third set, though. Now Blagojevich, 28 aces on the year, which leads the Bulldogs. Good contact from Neeson, and a pass shot down the line. Blagojevich there on first contact. Tool in the block. Number 6, Kaylin Newsome.
And this is a good matchup for Newsome to be in the front row at the same time as the Ole Miss setter. So to have a little smaller block for her to deal with will definitely work to her advantage.
Wild journey for Kaylin Newsome, who started her career. Oh my goodness, that's the 3rd time that Ole Miss has been out of rotation. How do you explain that, Missy?
Yeah, you cannot, there's a left-right overlap and a front-back overlap. So they just have to, until the ball is contacted. Once the ball is contacted, they can make any movement. But in terms of how they line up prior to the ball being contacted by the server, if there's a player playing left front and left back, and yet they might be passing side by side, they do have to have a slight differentiation, slightly different in how they're lined up until that ball is contacted. So it's very rare to see that called.
Yeah, so it's been some of the mental mistakes that have caused issues for the Rebels here. You got 9 service errors, 3 rotation violations in this match. Like you said, you rarely see one.
Nice, really nice gap work there by Walk to take that ball away from her setter. And you saw Sasha Ratliff was leaning toward that attack, but she had lined up in the middle and wasn't able to get directly in front.
They've been able to get Sasha Ratliff on the move offensively and put her off 1 foot. Sasha Ratliff now with 7 kills in the match.
Really nice dose of Sasha Ratliff today. I think it's important for her to be in double-digit attempts, and she's at 11 right now, but we're still getting good pin production as well.
Only had 4 kills in the match on Friday night against Arkansas, and nearly doubling that production here this afternoon. Back and forth we go between these two schools, separated by less than 100 miles. One of the great rivalries in the SEC Conference. And this one touched over. Neeson keeps it up. On the attack for Newsom. And Ole Miss gets the point on the attack error.
And we've seen both of these teams really focused on using the opponent's block. And so you're seeing some of those errors that look like wild errors out of bounds, but they're just trying to swipe it right off those hands.
And Bree Henry took a quick walk to the bench there. She got the point. I think she was about to pull out that challenge card. Ole Miss gets the point.
Yeah, and you saw even the Mississippi State player shaking her head, yes, like, yeah, that one was in. That was a good serve.
Tough serve from Meyer down the line this time, but a little give and go. Touched off the block. Tufono to the right side. Ammerman, what a dig by Yates, but it goes over. Good chance coming. Ammerman again, slowed down by the block of the Bulldogs. They go to the middle of the floor, and it's Arissa Smith putting the point away.
And Sam, I know you asked Coach Julie Darty-Dennis, you know, what the offense looks like at its best, and she talked a lot about getting the balls to the middles in transition, and here's a great example of that. You can see in transition, the middles have become a big piece of the offense, much like Ole Miss. The middles at Mississippi State have become a big piece of the offense, but you don't want to necessarily be predictable in going to them.
Because it opens up stuff like that for Nia Washington, and both sides getting their middles involved. Washington with a one-on-one, she's going to win that 9 times out of 10.
The tempo for Ole Miss, I think for opponents, until you've played them live, it is just hard to realize how fast that ball is getting to the outside pin, and then Nia Washington with such a quick arm.
There's Smith again with tempo from Harness.
This is a really smart swing by Smith, and I think something that she has worked on is swinging into left back, that crossbody swing, so that you're going away from the opposing libero. Because there were some matches where I feel like she was taking really nice rips at the ball, but swinging right into the libero's lap.
Line shot from Ammerman, dug up in the back by Neal. Now it's Washington elevating, kept up, and still alive. Tufono back to Washington. This time she finishes it off. Nia Washington moving up to 13 kills in the afternoon.
And Nia Washington on that first swing challenging the setter as a blocker up at the net, blasts one through that Mississippi State is able to keep alive, and you see her come back with a different shot on the second swing as she goes really sharp angle.
Ammerman. Washington throws it over. Now it's Schmidt. In-system ball for Carly Schmidt.
Carly Schmidt just plays really long. She has great high contact. We've seen ball movement from her. And I think she's playing with more confidence than I've ever seen her play with in her career, which is just so key.
Burst onto the scene in her first year at Mississippi State last year, had over 300 kills. Off the net for Washington, and it's Amina Shackelford on the block. Mississippi State first to 15 this time in the third. Another 1-point set. Welcome back to Oxford, everybody. Mississippi State, Ole Miss squaring off. State won the first, Ole Miss won the second, and it is the Bulldogs first to 15 here in the third. But there have been some freebies given up on both sides here, Missy. You see the service errors for Ole Miss at 9, the attack errors high for Mississippi State at 17, and strangely enough, Ole Miss has been out of rotation 3 times, which is something you rarely see.
Yeah, these coaches have talked a lot about trying to score points. We're looking for a few more points each set because we don't want to rely on our opponent to give them to us. And they certainly don't want to give them away either. So I think both of these teams would not be real pleased with that number right now. When we talked to Bree Henry at Ole Miss earlier this year, she said, you know, we know that we absolutely can't give away more than 9 points. And that was in the middle of the season. I would dare to say as we get into the postseason, that number has to come closer to 7. You're not going to defeat teams in the tournament if you're giving away much more than 7 points per set. And so both of these teams need to clean it up just a little bit. They've, as unfriendly as this rivalry is, they've been a little friendly giving each other points so far today.
Oh, it's a great point. And we also mentioned it's not always, you know, that you win, it's how you win, and perception does matter. And the committee looks at these sort of things to see how clean you're playing towards the selection show coming up in 2 weeks on ESPN. There's Rebecca Walk out of the middle of the floor for Mississippi State. And Walk, another good match. She's got 6 kills in this one, but she's coming off a season high against Alabama where she had 13 kills on 29 swings, and she's hitting well over 350 for the year. Meyer on the left pin has it blocked. Shackelford fired up after that one, and rightfully so.
Amina Shackelford is a dominant physical right side player. Her offensive numbers have taken a bit of a dip here mid-season, but one of the areas where she can really impact the game and score points for the Dogs, even if the offense has trailed off a little, is with her blocking. We've seen that here in this set.
Bulldogs 1 block in the first couple of sets. They got 3 here in this third. Shackelford, a big reason why. Now getting it done on the offensive end, just like you said, Miss.
Yeah, and look at that, Sam. I think this happens to a lot of volleyball players. When the offense isn't quite there, if you can just continue to work hard, lots of times a few defensive wins will all of a sudden turn into some awesome offensive points as well when you find that rhythm.
So Amina Shackelford, yes, we just saw her get it done on the offensive side, but she can also get it done on the defensive side. She's second in the team in blocks as well, but here's a little rip of what she's done today.
Yeah, look at these setting choices. If you'll notice, when she's getting these kills there on the right side, she was often swinging against just one block. So CeCe Harness doing a good job of delivering it to her in situations where she has some open looks. Sasha Ratliff having to chase, not able to close, and look at that hole. Shackelford certainly will take advantage of that.
We were also wondering about CeCe Harness and her hand. Got that taped up there in the second set, if that would matter. At that point, she had 15 assists. So far, she's got 32 to lead the way for the Bulldogs. So hasn't really been too much of a factor yet, Missy.
No, it doesn't look like it. Both of these setters, these are teams that look pretty familiar from a season ago, and yet there's a foundational change on both of these teams in that they're running 5-1s with setters who were not with these teams a season ago, both coming out of the transfer portal, and Tifono and Harns then for Mississippi State. And, you know, that can be a tough position to walk into and have to find that rhythm with the entire offense and, you know, what type of hitter likes what type of set in each situation. And yet both of these players have just done a phenomenal job.
So it's 19-15, Mississippi State. They've come on strong each of the last 2 sets late in the set. This is their largest lead of the match, 4 points. That's how tight things have been. Washington touching one off that block, and a little bit of an off-speed shot catches Mississippi State off guard.
And the off-speed coming into this one was really important for Ole Miss in terms of where would they go with their off-speed. This is a team who wants to play really high IQ volleyball, and they felt like in the first meeting between these two teams, when they used their off-speed, they were tipping directly over the block, where Mississippi State had a couple of defenders waiting on that. So they're trying to be smart about where they go in those out-of-system situations.
Julia Dice teeing up the far side. And a swing down the line, shoots wide. Here comes Ole Miss now. It was a 4-point lead, now it's 2. Timeout on the floor here. Mississippi State wants to talk some things over. So we just showed you Amina Shackelford. Now on the other side for Ole Miss, Nia Washington leading this team pretty much most of this season, just under 4 kills per set already. In this one, she's got 14.
Yeah, and Nia Washington, not only the only player in double digits for Ole Miss, but the only player on the floor right now in double digits. She's taken 34 swings so far today and only 2 errors. So to be playing at the left pin with the type of production we're seeing from her and to be doing it at 353 clip, I think really speaks to the maturity of her game, because for this Ole Miss team to be successful, she's going to have to carry a heavy load, and she needs to play low error within that load, and she's learning to do that over the course of the season.
Went from 2 kills a set last year to leading the team, averaging over 3.5 this year. Jumps up to almost 4.5 kills per set in SEC play, by the way, which ranks in the top 10 as well. So you think when you go from the non-conference to conference play, generally you see some of those numbers come back down to earth. Hers has been in a completely different direction, which is just illustrates what she has brought to the table for this Ole Miss team as they try to make a push for the NCAA tournament. And we talked about it at the top of the show, Missy. What's at stake here in this one? Well, Mississippi State seeking a season sweep over Ole Miss, something that hasn't happened in quite a while, but Ole Miss seeking to try and keep their postseason run alive. They are in a good spot when it comes to the RPI and the KPI, but this is a must-win match. Can't afford to drop this one.
Yeah, this is all about postseason implications and the ability to get into the tournament for Ole Miss and the ability to prevent that for Mississippi State.
Shackelford out of the timeout there. Julie Darty-Dennis talking things over. Or excuse me, that's, yeah, Shackelford going wide on that swing. So Ole Miss bringing it within 1, 19-18. Harness to the middle. Walk has it blocked by Sasha Ratliff. Now Blagojevich into the dig of Dice. And a far side swing is put down.
That's Vivian Miller now into the match for Ole Miss, wearing number 7 there in red. She's a 6-foot outside hitter. She's a junior from Jupiter, Florida. And she has, over the course of her career, there have been seasons where she has been a major contributor, but this team has so much depth at the pins, and what a luxury to be able to make a change at this point in the match.
Averaged about 2.5 kills per set as a true freshman in 2022. Played in 19 of the team's 21 matches last year. Missed a couple down the stretch with injury, actually the last 8. But she's only appeared in a handful of matches this year. Hasn't appeared since November 3rd in the match against Florida. And a powerful swing there for Nia Washington in the middle, almost off the net.
This is another good example of Mississippi State really working from the inside out, because we talked about how your middle attack can open things up for the pins, but really the play of Washington out of the back court coming down the middle can also open up things for the pins when she's in the back row.
Tied 20 apiece, and miscommunication for the Bulldogs. Talk about freebies, some of the mental mistakes. That one will fall in the column for Mississippi State. Ole Miss 21-20. Right side attack, Shackelford. 6 kills for Amina Shackelford as she rotates out.
Nice high swing for Shackelford that time. As we talked about, that ball off the top of the block. Don't even give the defenders a chance to transition that, and that's what Shackelford is able to do there.
Right side attack for Vivian Miller is blocked back by Smith.
In a race to 25, it can feel like a long set, and then all of a sudden, it's just who can get to 5 first. Once you hit that 20 mark, you've got to play clean volleyball.
Ooh, just stepping over there into the net probably, yep, for Sasha Ratliff. But the block has come to play for Mississippi State here in this 3rd set. They've got 4-0 on the other side for Ole Miss. And we talk about the Rebs' resume when it comes to the NCAA tournament. Right now, their KPI sitting at 40, Mississippi State at 84. And I think the easiest way to kind of sum up the difference between, we talk about the RPI and the KPI. RPI, a formula, makes up about 25% of a team's wins, 50% of their strength of schedule, 25% of the opponent's wins. Well, the biggest difference that KPI takes into account is margin of victory and location, where you play those matches. So KPI just a little bit more in depth, but both of the metrics kind of designed to show the strength of a team. And you see the RPI now in the SEC. You've got, 11 teams in there in the top 50.
Yeah, and I really like the KPI in that, if you are able to push a team to 5 sets, that's going to bode better for you than like a quick 3-set sweep, as I think it should. And I also think that if you're able to go on the road and take a hard-fought match in a really tough environment, that has an opportunity to really work in your favor, as I think that should as well, of what you're going to be asked to do in the tournament. And so I do like the fact that the KPI is just a little bit more in depth. But as we know, we're pretty familiar with the RPI and how important that number is. And it's going to be interesting to see how many teams these power conferences can place in the tournament.
Trying to make the tournament for the first time since 2021, when the Rebels won 21 matches in that year. All right, welcome everybody. Just watching Texas take down Alabama in 3 straight. We bring you to Oxford, Mississippi on Senior Day in this rivalry match between the Bulldogs and the Rebels. Alongside Missy Whittemore, I am Sam Ravitch. Great to have you alongside with us. These two, obviously bad blood going back all the way to 1976 when this rivalry started on the hardwood. And Mississippi State won this match earlier in the year. This is the second meeting of 2 between these two. We are in the 3rd set. Mississippi State with this 1-point lead. We are split 1 set apiece as well. Bulldogs took the first. Ole Miss answered in the second. And a great rally to get us started here on ESPN, but into the net there as Rebels try to keep it alive, and it is set point for the Bulldogs.
Winning on the road in this rivalry has been very hard to come by. And here Mississippi State sets it an opportunity for set point and to go up 2-1 in Oxford.
Into the net, keeps things alive. Mississippi State with their 5th service error of the match. That has been a problem for Ole Miss here with 10 on the other side. Coach Julie Darty-Dennis trying to close this thing out in the 3rd. And get it to the 4th set. Good cover there for Meyer. Here's Washington elevating into the cross-court dig of Yates. Now it's Schmidt off the high hands of the Ole Miss block. Washington uses the block and ties it up 24-all here in the 3rd.
That is another great example of what Coach Bree Henry of Ole Miss told us she was looking for from her pins. You see that swing from Washington is purposefully off the block, out of bounds. They do not want to give the defenders from Mississippi State any opportunity to turn a dig into some transition offense, because this Mississippi State team is a strong defensive unit.
Well, would you expect anything different in this rivalry matchup? Here's what's kind of on the line for Ole Miss. We just got done talking about the KPI, the RPI. Ole Miss in a good spot. They have opportunities in front of them. Texas and Missouri qualify as quad 1 matches. The quad 4 matches against Mississippi State here today and Alabama down the stretch, those are kind of the ones that you can't afford to lose, especially when you're on the bubble like Ole Miss is, Missy.
Yeah, this really can be broken down into must-haves and then great opportunities. And so this is a favorable schedule for Ole Miss, because the Mississippi State Alabamas are certainly must-haves that they're capable of winning, but you feel like a Texas or a Missouri loss wouldn't necessarily hurt them. Friday night's win over Arkansas was actually a quad 2 win for Ole Miss, and I think that gives them a big boost, but they have to protect, where they sit on the bubble right now with wins over Mississippi State and Alabama for sure.
We mentioned this is the second meeting of 2 this season between the rivals. Bulldogs took the first on their home turf in Starkville 3-1. Nia Washington had 21 kills in that match for Ole Miss. She's already got 17 here in this one. And Carly Schmidt was a huge factor on the left pin for the Bulldogs. She has been kept in check relatively in this match. 8 kills on 25 swings, hitting under 100. We are tied 24 all here in the third. We played at 25, but you got to win by 2. So this is not a set point yet. Schmidt trying to make it one into the dig of Neeson. It goes on an overpass. Harness tees up Schmidt again, who tools the block and gets it to set point for the Dogs.
Carly Schmidt not quite having the type of production we saw her have in the first meeting between these two, and that's because they are giving her all kinds of respect. You see the double block ready and waiting for her, and she just continues to battle.
9th kill this afternoon for Carly Schmidt as Mississippi State tries to take a 2-1 advantage. Washington. And nobody there to cover off the dig of Mary Neal for Mississippi State. We are back even at 25 all.
Yeah, you saw no one make a movement there for that second contact for Mississippi State after the big dig. And both of these teams just giving away a few too many points.
Good serve from Ammerman. Schmidt tries the line shot. Coach Julie Darty-Dennis told us that is her bread and butter going down the line, and she gets it back to set point for Mississippi State.
Smart choice there by the attacker because the setter is front row now for Ole Miss, and so that gives her a look down the line with a smaller block. So very smart her to take advantage of that, but credit the setter for not missing on the inside, doing a good job of pushing those sets all the way out to the pin so her attackers have that option.
Tufono tight to the net, but Washington bounces off a trampoline and evens it up once again.
This is tempo working in the favor of Ole Miss, something that we did not see in the first meeting between these two teams. Tempo so important for Ole Miss to get the ball to the floor with a smaller attacker like Nia Washington. She takes advantage of her speed, and they set her a very fast tempo ball. But in the first meeting between these two teams, they just couldn't find a rhythm between their setter and outsides. That has not been the case today.
On the overpass, Burgach touches it to the floor, and now momentum shifts to the home team. Ole Miss with set point. Something to keep in mind too, Missy. Ole Miss 11-1 when winning the third set in matches this season. They are 4-8 when they do not win the third set. This is a decisive kind of third set to decide who will go in front 2-1. CeCe Harness with a touch to the right side, and who else? Amina Shackelford has taken control over that right side pin for Mississippi State in this match.
Amina Shackelford just getting better as this match goes on, and I think it's in large part due to the success she's had blocking. The offense wasn't there early. Sometimes when the execution doesn't come, if you just continue to put forth good effort, you can work yourself into the match, and that's what we've seen from Shackelford.
Blagojevich with a good serve. Now in transition, Shackelford through the Ole Miss block. Set point back to the Bulldogs. It's 28-27.
Another nice set there by Harness, who's now running that 5-1 from Mississippi State. Good job pushing the ball all the way to the antenna.
Here in the third set, Blagojevich with the serve. In system, back row attack for Washington. She's got 20.
And Washington will not go away. Whether she's front row or back row, she is an option in all 6 rotation. High flying and fast arm.
20 kills on the match for Nia Washington. She's got 6 digs and a block to go along with it. And oh, by the way, she's hitting 440.
Yeah.
28-28, not a set point here. Got to win by 2. Push to the back line, and it just goes long. Set point goes back to Mississippi State. The libero, McKenna Yates, freshman, sends it away. Another back row attack, looking for high hands Washington not gonna get him. It took 30 points for Mississippi State to take the third set. They go into the fourth with a 2-1 advantage. It was a high-flying start between these two rivals in set one. Mississippi State only committed 3 attacking errors. It was very efficient, but then in set two, Ole Miss got their go-to player going, Nia Washington.
Yeah, Nia Washington is just such a superstar, you know, in the SEC right now. And in this particular matchup, not only is it a rivalry matchup, but as the season goes on, we're just seeing some of the best in the SEC show up and show out. Nia Washington missing that final swing there at the end of the third set, but realized that was only her 3rd error on the entire day to go along with 20 kills. And as you had pointed out, a 405 hitting efficiency from the left pin is very impressive.
Give a lot of credit to Mississippi State, by the way, who has lost 3 matches coming into this one. And Coach Julie Darty-Dennis told us they drove up this morning. It's not a long drive, but they didn't stay the night. So they were coming in here, emotional environment as well. It is senior day inside the Gillum Center. And Mississippi State now with a 2-1 advantage as we go to the fourth in a best-of-5 match. Great to have you along with us. Alongside Missy Whittemore, I am Sam Ravitch. And a ruckus crowd inside the Gillum Center in Oxford, Mississippi. On the attack, Meyer off the block of Mississippi State. Touchdown out of the middle for Sasha Ratliff. Went a little bit quiet there in the third, but she's got 8 kills now in the match.
And really nice tip shot. As you see, she's able to get on top of that ball and get it to the floor quickly, which is important against this Mississippi State team who is very feisty defensively.
So Ole Miss with a 2-0 lead to start the fourth. Tufono, there's the back row attack, but this time a triple block was set up there for Mississippi State. Maybe an adjustment that they make, seeing Nia Washington swinging through a lot of open seams.
Yeah, we've seen more and more of Nia Washington out of the back court. Ole Miss has gone back to Shayla Meyer across the front row here opposite Nia Washington. We've seen some Vivian Miller, but just not a lot of production out of that second left side. And so a heavy dose of Washington out of the back row. Mississippi State, as you said, making that adjustment. They're going to go ahead and wait there and make sure they've got 3 blockers up against her before they release to the pin.
Saw Emma Ammerman this time on the left pin. She has been used on the right side. Primarily for most of her career at Pepperdine, and that one will go down as a point for Mississippi State. So serving tough here and getting Ole Miss out of system. Back there, it's number 8, Mary Neal. 7 digs on the match for the back row player. What hustle there for Mississippi State. Wow. Arissa Smith gets credit for the kill, but Kaylin Newsom with hustle there to keep the ball up.
Yeah, look at McKinney Yates just laying out the freshman out of Ocala, Florida. She's had back-to-back matches with 20-plus digs, actually had 25 against Alabama. So the future is bright in the Libero jersey there for Mississippi State.
There she is again after Blagojevich had first contact, but good chance here. Tufono to the right side. Neal with the dig. Here goes Newsom, looking for high hands, and she got him.
You really have to credit Newsom, who over the course of this match and really over the course of the last 3 matches, a smaller outside hitter in this league, is constantly having to deal with a big block in front of her as she carries a heavy load for this offense. And I just really credit her for her patience, her ability to wait for the good swings and to use all of her tools.
Smith out of the middle, Tufono now to the left pin. Ammerman couldn't get much behind it. Here goes Newsom again with a tip shot. Ammerman with the cover. Right side, Meyer down the line into the dig of Yates to the middle. Smith has it blocked back. Now Newsom again looking for those high hands. She's saying she got a tip. Not going to get the call this time, and that ends a 5-0 run for the Bulldogs in a critical side out. Looks like we might have a challenge coming here.
Original decision, Mississippi State hit the ball out. Mississippi State is challenging block touch.
So the call on the floor was ruled that that swing from Newsom was out. There was no touch. There you see that triple block again for Ole Miss. And you got 6 hands to try and choose from here to see if it went off one of them. Probably looking at that left hand for Sasha Ratliff there, number 11 in red.
Yeah, this is a rotation where the setter's not in the front row. So Ole Miss just choosing to go with that triple block.
Well, is there enough evidence to overturn the call? Both teams with 1 challenge remaining.
The play is confirmed. There is no touch. Mississippi State loses their challenge.
All right, so that's it for Julie Darty-Dennis and Mississippi State when it comes to the challenges. That is, unless we get to a 5th set. If that were the case, then they would get 1 challenge back. But both teams get 2 challenges per match. They had both lost 1 up until that one, and now Mississippi State will be without challenges the rest of the way up until a 5th set, if that is needed. 5-3 here to start the 4th set. Tufono tight to the net and a quick set to Ratliff.
Really nice transition work here by Ole Miss. You see Tufono coming in almost late off of that quick dig there, and yet she's still able to get stopped and get a ball up to Ratliff. Nia Washington now in the front row for Ole Miss. You see her there. And so these are important side-out rotations for Mississippi State. They want to get out of these rotations as quickly as possible. Don't give Washington an opportunity to get on a roll.
Washington, like we said, 20 kills on the match. That was a really smart shot for Kaylin Newsom there. Didn't have a whole lot to work with and just touches it off the block.
That's exactly what they need from Newsom. You know, Coach told us she's not going to get the flashy kills. We just need her to tool that block, use all of her shots, and at times they just need her to extend rallies and trust their defense. Perfect placement right there by Nia Washington. Something this Ole Miss team talked about after the first meeting between these two was that they felt there was some opportunities to score shots in that zone 4, which is that left front position there along the net. And in the first meeting, they felt like they tipped too many balls right over the block and gave the ball right back to Mississippi State. So being really smart with using the court here today.
There's Burgach with an answer in the middle. Peyton with 6 kills, or excuse me, 6 blocks, I should say, in this match. Yeah, the other thing you look at, too, when you look at the stats, obviously Nia Washington having a great match with 21 kills. But on the other side, from Mississippi State, it's been a balanced attack. Nice shot from Amberman there to tool the block. But Mississippi State, 11 kills from Newsom, 10 from Schmidt, 10 from Marissa Smith. The last time they played, Missy, you were on the call. Mississippi State had 4 players with double-figure kills. They've got 3 today, so that's a good recipe for them.
It really is, and I think they have to have that. They know they have to have Carly Schmidt out there at the pin, who's taking a big swing here in double digits. But they also know how important it is for them to have double digit, even just attempts out of their middle. Even if they don't convert those for kills, how important is them to have the attempts out of the middle that then opens up those swings at the pins.
Like you said, don't want to get stuck in this rotation if you're Mississippi State with Washington on that left pin. She's comfortable there. Neeson serves it away. Push to the far side and a kill for Carly Schmidt. She's got 11 now.
Carly Schmidt swinging against Ammerman there at the pin, but able to find a slice of line, and you just can't leave her any room.
Marissa Smith, the middle blocker, back behind the line now. Playing in the back row, and kept up this time, moves up front. Neeson puts a hand out for it. Schmidt has it blocked. Washington first contact, little give and go there with Washington and Tufono, and Washington puts it in the campfire.
And this will make a coach smile, because this is called executing a game plan. This is something that we talked to Bree Henry about, and Ole Miss didn't want to tip right over the block. She said maybe deep donut is an area where we can have success. And you see Nia Washington going out and taking the game plan and putting it into action.
Into the cross court for Peyton Burgach.
Burgach behind the setter, again, playing in the M2 this year, in the M1 this year, after playing in the M2 for most of her career. And so getting better and better at that attack off 1 foot behind the setter.
Here goes Schmidt, slowed down by the block. Wow, a one-handed save there momentarily for Newsom, but it goes for a kill. Nia Washington.
That was a Cami Neeson dig there in transition to set up that offensive play, and a really nice finish by Nia Washington.
So the checkerboard match continues to play out between Mississippi State and Ole Miss, trading off sets here. Ole Miss with an 11-7 lead in the fourth. We talked about some of the freebies that have been given up for both sides, and it's come in different ways. Mississippi State with 22 attack errors. That's something that Coach Julie Darty-Dennis talked about as kind of being a thorn in the side of this team this year. And then the service errors and out of rotation calls, 3 of them for Ole Miss in this match. Also been a little bit head scratching on the other side for Bree Henry. So something to keep an eye on as this one moves along. Right
and
now it's Ole Miss.
Also,
go ahead, Missy, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say also, Sam, those 22 attack errors, you do have to credit Ole Miss with the 9 blocks, because those blocks also go down in the stat book as an actual attack error, which is kind of unfortunate. It's an elite defensive play, and yet you're going to get credited with the attack error, and that's just the way it works. So some of that has to do with how well Ole Miss is defending at the net.
For those who are tuning in also for the Arkansas LSU match, that's starting, you can catch on ESPN Plus, SEC Network Plus. We will join them once this match comes to an end in Oxford. Mississippi State ending a 5-0 run for Ole Miss coming out of that timeout. Cami Neeson with a dig. And there, Nia Washington, a tight angle across the court. 25 kills, Missy. She is 3 shy of a career high.
Look at herself finding her way around that block as she cuts it sharp inside that thumb down swing. That's to the left of the defender, nearing up there the 10-foot 3-meter line. So just an incredible swing by Nia Washington.
And an ace for the Rebels. Nia Washington has painted a masterpiece so far at home in this match. Gets the ace there, 25 kills, 7 digs, her first ace. And that one finds the floor, though, for Amina Shackelford.
Yeah, the addition of the Amina Shackelford offense for Mississippi State today is certainly a bright spot as they've gotten her going. A nice pass there by Kaylin Newsom in that particular rotation. State really only passing with 2 passers, so they're asked to cover a lot of ground.
Tufono, Washington, Yates with a dig. Yates has got 22 digs in this match. The libero can't get to this one, though, as Vivian Miller puts it to the floor.
Vivian Miller, in addition to the lineup here today, as we're getting a look at the depth at the pin for Ole Miss, yet another option for them, and an option with a lot of experience over the course of her career. She does a nice job of just dropping that one in.
7 points, largest lead of the match on either side.
Something Mississippi State really focused on early in the season was using their middles even when the setter is pulled off the net. And they do that very well. You saw Cece Harness coming off the net there, and that doesn't take away their middle attack. They do a good job of pushing the middles.
Yates Throws over a free ball to Fono with options. Miller in transition.
And it doesn't matter who's in the front row for Ole Miss. You're going to see the tempo of the set. Tufono, really nice job getting the ball out there quickly and giving Vivian Miller some room to swing. And that's key with that quicker set to the outside. You don't want to trap the attacker into the block. Give them a little room to swing.
Okihana Tufono, 45 assists here in this match. And that swing goes a bit wide as Ole Miss tries to even up the match and force a fifth set here on senior day. Julie Darty-Dennis will call their final timeout. Mississippi State out of timeouts here in the fourth. And one of the 7 seniors that was honored on senior day here, Sasha Ratliff, having a really good match.
Sasha Ratliff now up to 16 attempts out of the middle. I mean, that's just a lot of looks for a middle blocker, and yet we expect that from Sasha Ratliff, who's just been so dominant in her career here at Ole Miss, taking lots of balls, but also the fact that she's the #1 blocker in program history. So she gets it done both ways. She is a two-way middle, offensive and defensive, and you see her there with #4, Peyton Burgach, opposite her, the other middle blocker on this team, who's 3rd right now in all-time career blocks. So as we said, it doesn't matter the rotation, this Ole Miss team puts a wall up at the net.
Yeah, and Burgach as well. We mentioned the middles being a big part. She has now moved into 2nd, right behind Sasha Ratliff. She was 3 blocks shy of jumping into that #2 spot in the rally scoring era coming into this one. But I wanted to ask you, Miss, because we talk about Ole Miss and how productive they have been in years past using their middles offensively, and they have gone away from it, trying to balance out that attack. But sometimes you go with what's working, and right now, using Sasha Ratliff has worked for them in this match, and getting her involved in up-tempo passes from Tufono. That's kind of been clutch, and then Burgach on the slide as well.
Yeah, I think with the middles, when it's there, and it's certainly an option for Ole Miss. But I think for Bree Henry, it was more of an overriding theme of the program moving forward under her leadership, understanding that in the end, the match is probably going to be won and lost at the pin, because that is where the game is played out of system, and it's just not a perfect game. You don't have a perfect pass every time. So she understood their need to play better at the pins, and yet I think she knows just how talented she is in the middle, and so you got to find that balance.
Washington with a dig there. Now Ammerman into the block of the Bulldogs, and it's stuffed right back. Marissa Smith right there to reject it.
Yeah, and that ball favored Mississippi State's block, so they do a good job of going up with strong hands, because the ball was dying inside. You saw Ammerman trying to get her feet there, but she really wasn't in great position to take a swing at that ball.
18-11. See if Mississippi State has another run in them. They've been able to push things tight late, and a really adept and astute shot there on the far pin from Newsom, just to set it over the net.
So many similarities between these two teams. This is something that Ole Miss wanted to work on in terms of attacking short along the net there, as these teams are dropping their off blocker across defensively. It's opening up that space.
That was probably the most comfortable swing we have seen Vivian Miller take in this match, in system and in rhythm, as she checks out and rotates out for Shayla Meyer.
Also a very open swing at the net, so credit her setter Tufono for finding her. And you know, again, it's those middles that are opening that up, and so teams who play Ole Miss have to respect that middle attack, and it really works to the advantage of the pins.
Great effort by Meyer, just checking back into the match with a one-handed save back there. And Smith gets a touch. Point to Mississippi State, back within 6, so here they come.
Smith just continues to impress as a player who played so little a season ago, and now to see her out on the court with 2 blocks, with nearly 30 attempts already on this match, hitting at a nice efficiency once again, and she's even their serving middle. So how much she has grown in a year, pretty incredible, and there she is again, getting involved.
Block coming alive now. That is the 2nd block here in this set for Mississippi State. And it's a 5-point set. Ole Miss could not close out the first. Mississippi State ended on a 6-1 run to win it. Washington. No. This is a 5-1 Mississippi State run as the Bulldogs refuse to go away, and a timeout called by Bree Henry. Well, Kaylin Newsome, an incredible journey from her, going from Mississippi State, southeastern Louisiana. This is her third stop, but what an improvement that left pin has with her on it.
Yeah, and this is a player on Friday night. They actually went away from Newsome across the front row, just used her in the back court. She's got 3 blockers often today against Ole Miss. And so it's really important for her to take not necessarily hard swings. That low hard seam is not an option. She's got to take really smart swings. And that can wear on you mentally over the course of the match, but she's handling that load really well at this point. She's hitting a 105 efficiency, so not high kill numbers, but she's managing those 38 attempts. And this is a team who knows that their strong suit can be defense and turning that defense into offense. And so she does a good job of managing the long rally, putting her team maybe just in better position to take an even better swing on the next opportunity. And that's what they're really asking of her.
And it's been from the balance too. Mississippi State, we mentioned it, 3 players with 10 or more kills. You got Amina Shackelford right behind there with 9 kills. So that is something that Coach Darty Dennis has to love. On the other side, it has been the Nia Washington show with 25 kills. Next closest is Sasha Ratliff out of the middle with 9.
Yeah, certainly no surprise to see Nia Washington with those big numbers the way she's been playing during conference play. I think the question for Ole Miss is that second pin. Shayla Meyer, typically much bigger production from her in the first meeting between these two. The tempo was a struggle for her. They've gone to Vivian Miller today. Of course, they have Julia Dice and Ammerman both at the right pin. So this is a team who has some different looks they can throw at you.
So 5-1 run out of the timeout. It's Washington putting a quell on that, and now with 26 kills, coming 2 shy of a career high that she had against LSU back in early October. Ole Miss first to 20 here. Can they close it out? Tufono to the middle. Who else? Burgach is there.
Nice work in transition here by Burgach. You see her running away from her setter. She's able to attack right into that gap. So the pin blocker is still out at the pin. The middle blocker doesn't pick her up early enough.
And an ace for Ole Miss. Yami Neeson, the libero, just moved into 4th in program history in all-time digs, passing Nicole Purcell. Now with 18 aces this year as well. Schmidt slowed down. Neeson with a set to Ammerman, and Ammerman with a nice shot right in front of Newsome.
And because Neeson is behind the 3-meter line, she's able to use her hands and does a really nice job as a secondary setter there, stepping in and putting up a killable ball.
Got 7 assists, 20 digs.
She plays the libero position so well. We've seen what she can do from the service line. I mean, she digs balls. She's good in serve receive. She's good as a secondary setter. There's a lot asked out of that position, and I think at times Cami Neeson just makes it all look so easy.
Yeah, so many times you just kind of forget that they're there, especially when you talk about Cami Neeson, just because she does her job so well. She's got 27, now 28 matches of double-digit digs. That dates back to last year. 6 matches with 20-plus digs this year.
And I love the fact that Coach talked about there's a good pass from her, how intrinsically motivated she is. It's not like there's someone pushing her out of that libero jersey that she's having to battle with each day in practice. She's ahead of everyone in terms of that role, and yet she battles herself. She wants to get better. Coach said we know what we're getting from her every day. She's not an up-and-down type player, and every team certainly needs a few of those. I know the coaches like to have those.
No question. And Ole Miss brings it to set point, trying to force a 5th set here on Senior Day. Rebecca Walk. Yep, that'll go for a kill for Rebecca.
Rebecca Walk just sneaky good offensively. It's not going to be the hardest hit ball that you're going to see out of the middle, but she gets on top of it, she moves the ball well, and it happens really quickly. She takes it right out of the setter's hands.
Ton of experience, too, for Walk. Started every match for this team last year. Joust at the net, and Tufono sends us to a 5th set here in the Gillum Center. Keep in mind, Mississippi State just coming off a 5-set loss. They'll have to try to win it in 5 here on the road. Mississippi State looking for some revenge after losing to the Bulldogs earlier this year. Now it's Shackelford with a kill. So wow, what a swing of events there. We were jumping the gun there. They had said that we had thought that initially Ole Miss had sent it to 5, but no, not the case. 2 quick points from Mississippi State, and it's now a 4-point 4th set.
And it was the net violation against Tufono there as she turned on that ball tight to the net that ended up being a point for Mississippi State rather than the set to Ole Miss. And remember, Coach Julie Darty-Dennis did not have another challenge. So this is actually a call that is made by the officials. This was not a challenge. The officials picked this up, and it's the right call. You see as she turns on it, definitely some bouncing of the net there, and she gets it on her follow-through as she pushes that ball over. So what could have been the set to Ole Miss, all of a sudden, here comes Mississippi State with a couple points, and this isn't over yet.
Now, had that ball hit the floor before she had made contact with the net, what would have happened in that circumstance, Missy?
Yeah, then that would go ahead and be a point, but rarely does that happen. You know, typically you're going to get that follow through, and her hair into the net is also not considered a net violation, but that was hands for sure. And as we said, that would not have been, Mississippi State would not have had the ability to challenge that because they are out of challenges unless we go to a 5th set. But one of the officials did pick that up.
It was the right call. So
yeah,
Ole Miss going to have to try and close it out now. 4 points to work with as Mississippi State has the ball.
You have to think that anytime you're looking to close something out, you need that 1 point. Nia Washington is probably a pretty likely target.
I'd say so. 57 attempts so far in this match, and a service ace out of the timeout. An excellent ace from the setter, Cece Harness.
Harness does a nice job there of just attacking a seam, created just a little miscommunication between the 2 passers.
Ole Miss gonna have to dial it in here. Washington sends us to a 5th. So it was a bit of an extended 4th set, ended with the same result regardless. Good fight though from Mississippi State. See if they can take some of that momentum into a 5th set. 25-21. Four sets, not enough for these rivals here in Oxford on Senior Day. Ole Miss winning the 4th to force a 5th. Double-digit kills today. The balance has been there for Mississippi State. They've got 4 players with 10 or more kills. The lone player with 10 or more kills for Ole Miss is Nia Washington, who was 1 shy of a career-high 28. But we go to a 5th set here, Missy. And that has not been a friend of Mississippi State this year. They are 0-3 in 5-set matches. They are just coming off of a tough one against Alabama on Friday night.
Yeah, to go to 5 with Alabama, but then to lose that 5th set 15-6, really not even close. You have to feel like that is something they would like to hit the redo button on, and here they are 2 days later with the opportunity to erase that 5th set against their in-state rival with so much at stake in terms of what Ole Miss is playing for, to try to steal a spot in the NCAA tournament. Just doesn't get any better than this.
We talked about at the top of the show, come November, you're either trying to win something or you're trying to spoil something. And Ole Miss trying to win to keep their NCAA tournament hopes alive. Mississippi State trying to play spoilers and pick up a season sweep against the Rebels, something that does not happen very often in this heated rivalry.
And as we saw moments ago, the production coming so differently for these two squads.
Yeah.
The balance is what's been hard to defend for Mississippi State. And for Ole Miss, you know, it's not the balance, but if it's not broken, you don't have to fix it. And they've got a player in Nia Washington right now who is hard to defend. And as far as I'm concerned, you just continue to feed her in the 5th set.
And a reminder, we played a 15 points here. It's a tight 5th set. Still have to win by 2. And Emma Ammerman with a statement kill to start out the 5th.
Coach Bree Henry was very honest. She said there are a couple matches that we have put a premium on. Not pressure, but a premium. And this is certainly one of them, because this loss could certainly eliminate them from the tournament.
No question. And they're off to a good start here. They are 2-2 in 5-set matches this season. So a little bit of better luck for the Rebels in the 5-set matches. Walk was looking for high hands, not going to get him, so Ole Miss takes a 2-0 lead. How important is it for a team to get out to a fast start in the 5th set, Missy? Because as we mentioned, they come quick.
15 comes really fast in that 5th set, and Julie Darden-Dennis, who was
Original decision, Mississippi State hit the ball out. Mississippi State is challenging block touch.
All right, so why not?
Yeah, Mississippi State awarded. She's awarded an extra challenge here in this 5th set because she was out.
The reverse, the ball is touched. Point, Mississippi State. Mississippi State retains the challenge.
And so she went ahead, as you saw the call, heard the call there. It has already been reversed. Mississippi State will be rewarded this point, so a good use of the challenge. But I think to your point, Sam, when you talked about how important it is to get out to a good start, the fact that Coach Julie Darden-Dennis used that challenge so quickly speaks to that exactly. The fact that she didn't want that score to be 2-0. It was that important for her to get that very first point on the board that she used the challenge right away.
And retains it too, so she still has one in her back pocket if she wants to use it. Now, Ole Miss has 2. 1-1 is the score here in the 5th. Blagojevich serves it away. Washington, yes, Nia Washington tying a career high 28 kills here this afternoon.
To match that performance against LSU, which is one of their really good wins over the course of the season. And again, it's an off-speed shot that is so smartly placed. And she's sticking to the game plan, exactly what they had designed.
Newsom with a nice shot.
I like the fact that that time Newsom is really, not only is she swinging for those high hands and going for the corner, but she even disguises it a little bit that time as she's actually facing angle and then swings across her body down the line.
Kenna Yates, the freshman libero, with a serve, a really good one. Got Meyer to the floor. Good chance coming here. Harness with a bump set out to Newsom. Dice tried to save it, couldn't get enough under it, and Mississippi State out in front 3-2.
And I know we're seeing some off speed here in this 5th set, and sometimes I'm not a fan of that. Sometimes I'm a fan of, hey, swing to win. But these are not good looks. And so I really appreciate the fact that these players are playing to extend the rally, being smart and not erring out of the point.
You do kind of wonder what kind of fatigue Mississippi State is playing with, too, having played that 5-set match like 48 hours ago, less than 48 hours ago. And here they are waking up early, driving up from Starkville to Oxford today. But so far, they've been able to battle here. Both these sides trading off sets in the 1st through the 4th. Wow. Wow. A service ace for Washington. It looked like just miscommunication for the Bulldogs. Nobody went after it.
Well, Kaylin Newsom stands in the serve receive there to take up some space, but ideally she does not want to have to pass because she's a front row attacker. And you know that Nia Washington knows that, and so that's why they go after that seam right there, and Blagojevich steps in that time.
Stuffed. Vivian Miller.
And Sam, this is exactly what happened on Friday night against Alabama in the 5th set. In the non-Carly Schmidt rotations, Mississippi State really struggled to score points. And right now, Carly Schmidt not on the floor in these 3 rotations, and Mississippi State needs to find a way out.
Will it be Newsom to help him get there? Nope. Another block on the far side this time. Tufono, the setter, was there. And a timeout going to be called by Mississippi State as they're nearing that danger point in the 5th set. Ole Miss with a 3-point lead. The home team, the Ole Miss Rebels, with a 3-point lead in the decisive 5th set between the in-state rivals. What's at stake? Well, Ole Miss in the thick of a run to the NCAA tournament, trying to make it back for the first time since 2021. Mississippi State in a position to get a season sweep over Ole Miss, and also in a position to really play spoiler against a rival. That's going to feel good if they can come back and win this thing. They got work to do, though, and a mistake there. Smith could not get it over the net, and Ole Miss continues on their run, 7-3.
Well, Ole Miss knows exactly what's at stake, and they have come out in this 5th set, and they have executed. They have 7 points, and of those 7 points, they have 3 kills, an ace, and 2 blocks. So they've scored 6 of those points. Just now an error from Mississippi State gives them another.
And Mississippi State really getting stuck in this rotation here, trying to get out of it. Newsom just has to touch it over there. Back row attack, Washington, kept up by Blagojevich. Now a roll shot. Neeson on second contact. Vivian Miller into one for a kill. And Vivian Miller, what a surprise she has been with 5 kills that have proved in crucial positions.
Yeah, insert Vivian Miller in a match when Shayla Meyer, who's still playing across the back row, just hasn't had her A game across the front row. And Miller now with 5 really timely kills for the Rebels.
Teams will switch sides here in this 5th set as Ole Miss out to a 5-point lead. Again, we play to 15, got to win by 2 in a 5-set match. Mississippi State, a reminder, coming off of a 5-set loss against Alabama on Friday night. They are 0-3 in these 5-set matches. Ole Miss is 2-2.
And this is a Mississippi State team whose defense has paid off for them over the course of the season. A missed serve there, and boy, did State need that. But for the Dogs, their defense has paid off for them over the course of the season. But in this type of a rotation where they don't have Carly Schmidt across the front row, you see there are times where they could possibly benefit from a back row attack, and that is not an option for Mississippi State.
A little cross up there for the Rebels. A chance for Mississippi State, and Arissa Smith makes them pay for that mistake. Arissa now with 12 kills on 31 swings here in the match.
Nice delivery there from CeCe Harness, and I think right now if you're CeCe Harness, you have to pretty aggressively, even in maybe a not really good situation, push the middle. You've got to find Arissa Smith. She does it again.
That one a little bit too high for her. Now Newsom into the block. Blagojevich tracks back to get it. Touch shot, dice there. Pushed all the way across. Blagojevich goes down to get it. Newsom with a swing, kept up by Washington. What a save. Can they recover? Bulldogs on the attack. This time it is terminated out of the middle. Arissa Smith, and it's a 2-point match.
This is a really nice transition eventually here in a long rally by Arissa Smith, and it is so important that she remain an option offensively. Of course, Ole Miss knows that's coming. They know that ball is going to the middle, but you just can't stop it because Newsom carries a huge load in these rotations. As soon as the middle is taken out, it is a double block waiting on Newsom. Here's another example of that. They have nowhere else to go. There is no back row attack, and so that is a large load for Kaylin Newsom, not a big outside hitter to carry in these 2-hitter rotations.
Yeah, it just becomes predictable. I mean, that's for lack of a better word.
It's exactly right. Everyone in the gym, when the ball is in transition, put in a place where Arissa Smith cannot be an option offensively, everyone in the gym, and certainly the Ole Miss blockers, know where to go to defend, and it's a lot for Kaylin Newsom.
Way out of system here. Good chance coming to Fono now to the outside. Got a tip. Vivian Miller. And we talk about Vivian Miller, a player that, you know, hasn't played a ton this year, but she has come up big for the Rebels today and in years past. She is a veteran player that has played meaningful matches in the SEC and has performed at a really high level. And here in this match, 6 crucial kills. Well, Vivian Miller, a big part in this one, but Nia Washington, 1 kill away from a 30-kill match. She has been the story, Missy.
And I think what's, as we've mentioned several times, what's impressive isn't just the number of kills, but it is the 359 hitting efficiency on 64 total attempts. And yet I think if we talk to Coach Henry, what she'll be most pleased about is her ability at this point in her career, her maturity and the growth of her game to be able to go out and execute a game plan, not for one set, but over the course of an entire match. And you see that in her shot selection, and you see that when she's swinging full speed and when she's using her off speed to extend rallies. And yet those off speeds would maybe be extending rallies. She's scoring on a lot of those because of how smart she is playing. And that was a big push for Bree Henry coming into the season with her outsides to grow in their volleyball IQ.
And how about her defensive play as well? Doesn't come off the floor. 6 rotation player for Ole Miss. And that one-handed save there didn't result in a point for the Rebels, but that is what got her to a double-double here in this match. She's got 10 digs.
Yeah, I mean, she's fast across the back row. You know, when they've asked her to pass, she's been able to just do what she needs to do across the back court. But most importantly, I think we're seeing the difference in these two teams in that she provides them that offensive outlet out of the back row. And you don't have that right now for Mississippi State, and that puts them at a huge disadvantage.
All right, what's the answer for Mississippi State? A quick set to the middle there. That was Harness connecting with Smith in tempo.
Yeah, the answer in that rotation is at 100% Arissa Smith, and that puts a lot of pressure on the passers. So a really nice pass that time by Mississippi State to make sure that that's an option.
Bulldogs not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. Here's a back row attack. Washington puts it away. 30-burger for Nia Washington.
And that's the difference for Ole Miss. Obviously, they want to have a perfect pass, but when it's not there, when you can throw a ball up down the middle and let a player like Nia Washington go and get it, you always have the ability to score.
Got her 9th double-double of the season, and that's a mistake there. From behind the service line from Tufono, it is the 13th service error. If Ole Miss is able to pull this out, I got to imagine that practice is going to be a heavy serve practice for Bree Henry and the Rebels coming up.
Now, they have increased their aces, I will say. They're sitting at 7 aces now. So if they can keep that a 1-to-2 ratio, I think it looks a little better than it did early in set 1, where the errors were definitely outweighing the aces.
Out of system for Schmidt, and somehow was able to force it through that block.
Schmidt onto the floor now in these 3 rotations for Mississippi State, and they have to take full advantage of these opportunities.
If a run is going to happen, it's going to happen here for the Bulldogs. Down by 2. Tufono pushes 1. And it's tooled off the block.
Another Vivian Miller kill, and I think what we're seeing from Vivian Miller, much like Nia Washington, is just how comfortable she is in the tempo of offense that Ole Miss wants to run. They want to be so fast to the pins, and Coach told us that at times Shayla Meyer can struggle. Not that she can't hit that speed, she's actually ahead of it at times, so just struggles to be in rhythm with the setter.
Stuffed from Nia Washington.
On senior day, not a surprise to see Sasha Ratliff with yet another block.
Sasha Ratliff with 2 blocks, 12 blocks total for Ole Miss in this match, and another one into the net, this one from Meyer.
And now we'll see where Mississippi State goes with the serve. Meyer now just playing across the back court, so she's been out of the match for a while. I wouldn't be surprised if they go at her.
No mistake there, and it's gonna still stay up for Washington, and Washington way out of system. A line shot to get it to match point. Who else? Nia Washington with 31 kills, the most in an Ole Miss match since 2018.
Nia Washington, just an eraser of mistakes because of her ability to score out of system.
Harness, do the Bulldogs have an answer? Ammerman pushes one across. A bump set to Schmidt, who has it stuffed, kept alive though. Schmidt again into the cross court. Keeps the match alive. Still match point for the Rebs.
And yet with that swing, Carly Schmidt exits the match. And we know what a struggle it's been for Mississippi State when they haven't had her offense on the floor.
Blagojevich, dangerous behind the line. Handled well by Neeson to Fono. Washington ends it, and Ole Miss picks up the win on her 32nd kill of the match. What a performance from Ole Miss and Nia Washington. It is the Ole Miss Rebels' 6th SEC win of the season. They only had 5 last year, and their campaign for an NCAA tournament continues, Missy.
I'll tell you, the difference maker in this one, Nia Washington, gives us a definitive kill to put it away.
That'll do it for us. Ole Miss wins it in 5. Alongside Missy Whittemore, I'm Sam Ravitch. Let's send you over to Arkansas and LSU coming up.